I want to talk about one more phenomenon that in some ways describes the situation that we are in today. What happens if interest rates are very, very low? And in this case, in the situation we are today, suppose that interest rates begin at R1, which might represent where interest rates stood in 2008. Interest rates were very low then, but what happened was we went into a recession, and the Fed decided to use monetary policy to try to fight the recession. But in order to do this, it had to cut rates as low as it possibly could. By pushing the money supply curve to the right, it was able to push the interest rate down to zero, but it can't push interest rates below zero. Essentially, with negative interest rates, we would be better off just simply hanging on to our dollars rather than putting them in the bank and have the bank take some money away from us over time. So essentially, there's a lower bound on the interest rate equal to 0%. And the Fed has set the interest rate at 0%, and it's been very close, or between 0 and 0.25%, and it's been very close to that for several years now, since they started fighting the recession. So as it stands now, we're currently very close to zero interest rates, and monetary policy can't lower the interest rate any further if we do the traditional sorts of things. The Fed has engaged in what economists are calling non-conventional monetary policy, and this involves two things. The first, it involves several things, but two of the primary ones are they're buying interest-bearing assets that are not controlled in the overnight market, that are of longer term than the federal funds rate. Remember, ordinarily what the Fed targets is the Fed funds rate, which is an overnight lending rate, an extremely short-term rate. The short-term rates are close to zero right now, but the longer-term rates are higher. We have positive interest rates on, for example, 10-year or 30-year treasury bills. The Fed is buying up some of these longer-term assets in hopes of pushing down longer-term interest rates rather than just overnight rates. And they're also buying, or they have purchased in the past, an awful lot of securities that are housing related, that are real estate related. They've been buying up the kinds of mortgage-backed securities that were provided by government agencies like Fannie Mae. But buying long-term bonds and other assets with newly created money is a goal to try to use monetary policy even in the face of the zero lower bound.